Welcome to Scorched Earth, and a general reading for the sign of Taurus, Sun, Moon and Ascendant for the month of November. I hope you're well. I'm using the Bonestone and Earthflesh Tarot today, which is interesting because thus far the only sign that I've used this deck on has been Leo, but it jumped out today and said it wanted to be used for you, so that's what we're going with. It's really pretty. Look at this. Right, absolutely exceptional deck. So, apologies in advance if I fall over my words. I was just about coping with the Mars retrograde, but then then the Mercury retrograde hit as well, and now I'm just kind of falling over my words. Restarted this video 5 times because I've misspoken in the first 20 seconds and come out with all sorts of nonsense. So hopefully, you know, this time we'll be fine. So I have some cards for Taurus, please. What does Taurus need to know? Well, there's the first one. So we've got the 4 of Swords in your recent past. I like that. I'll show you these cards properly in a moment. We have the Lovers in your current energy. That's the card of Gemini in the Major Arcana. And what's coming towards Taurus? Wait. Cardstock on these cards is immense. I mean, it's so big that this deck sits about half as tall as every other deck that I've got. Half as tall again. It does make it a bit difficult to shuffle the way that I like to shuffle sometimes. So let's come in towards Taurus, please. Whoa. So we have the Hermit. We've got the King of Pentacles and the 6 of Pentacles down here too. I'm not going to take these because they've kind of fallen down here, but I want to show them to you because this is you here. This is Taurian energy, and the 6 of Pentacles talks about balance, right? It talks about quite often reciprocity in relationships, but also, you know, just balancing your general day-to-day life. It's interesting that it's come up with the King of Pentacles because that's you expressing yourself here. But what we have at the bottom of the deck is the Ace of Swords. Now, I like this because the Ace of Swords can be truth, it can be clarity, it can be insight into something. But it can be clarity of thought and clarity of expression. It can be seeing things in a different way, right? And I feel for you that this might be quite likely this month because we've got the Hermit here, right? And we're going to go with a commonplace to clarify. Right. Just give this a quick shuffle. Right. Oh, we got 2 came out together there. We have the 8 of Cups and the 8 of Wands, 2 8s, karmic numbers, right? And for the Lovers, right, the Lovers here for Taurus. Oh, 2 cards again. We've got Temperance and the Empress. Love that for you. Major Arcana, clarifying Major Arcana as well. That's a big deal. About the Hermit, please. We have the 3 of Swords. And the Queen of Swords. This is interesting because we have the Ace of Pentacles at the bottom of this deck now. It's actually followed by the 10 of Swords, intriguingly, and the 5 of Cups and the High Priestess. Very interesting. We're going to come back to that because I can see where that will be relevant later on. But for, let me shut this window. I have all the cars going past. 2 aces right off the bat. Like this. The very first card that you've got is the 4 of Swords. There. And I really like the interpretation that you can get from this particular depiction of the Four of Swords, because we're very used to seeing what is somebody, you know, lying in repose, you know, perhaps as if dead, you know, with the three swords hung up and lying on one underneath. And it speaks about taking a break. It talks about stepping back from things, right? Often so that processing can occur, right? Healing, you know, whatever it is. It's kind of pulling away from what has caused you pain before, right? Because it follows on from the Three of Swords, in order that you might, you know, cast that Ace of Swords upon it, get some insight into it, heal up and move away from it, right? This is slightly different though, because what we've got here is a chap who has taken off his armour, he's discarded it by the side of the pool that he's immersed in here, and he's got in the water. He's left his Ace of Swords out there on the shore, plunged into the ground, and he has taken a break, right? He's taken off the armour, he's taken a break from the fighting, all of that kind of thing, and he's put himself into a really calm, serene pool. And he looks contemplative. It looks like he's looking at something, right? Now, symbolically, the water talks about emotions. So it's interesting that this person is here half submerged in it, right? He's not drowning. He's not in any kind of danger. The water is not choppy. The water is smooth, right? It looks to me as if you have been doing some pretty hard work on yourself, Taurus, right? Would we expect anything less? Obviously not, because you're Taurus. But the emotional realm feels like it's something that's opening up to you in a way that it hasn't really done before, right? Now, all of this year has been about you working on yourself, but part of that work, the most difficult part of that work actually, has been acknowledging the things that you needed to work on in the first place. I've spoken before about how Taurus as a sign has been desperate to work on themselves, you know, really champing at the bit to get this work done and improve themselves, but kind of lacking direction, not really knowing where to start. It's been quite frustrating at points. And I think I might have pointed this out not in the last video, but maybe the one before that. Certainly recently, that part of your journey, part of your learning experience was realizing that some things you can't force, right? Your work ethic is admirable and it's beyond reproach, but sometimes particular situations don't require you to just get your head down and work really hard at it, right? You know, like the student kind of sat down at the desk and I'm going to work on myself now. Sometimes it's about being still. Sometimes it's about doing nothing. And this is where you've been, right? And it may have looked like you were doing nothing from the outside, right? But actually what's been going on there is a really careful state of contemplation, you know, where you're kind of in waist deep in your emotions and going, right, okay, I'm not going to drop down too far, because if I cover my face I'm not going to be able to breathe, but this requires more than me sticking a toe in this water, so I'm going to sit in here and see what comes up, right? See what bubbles to the surface. Now the two cards that have come out to clarify it are the Eight of Cups and the Eight of Wands. And as I said, they were very karmic numbers. Because the numbers themselves are very important in the tarot. You know, there are loads of different ways that you can look at the symbolism of the card, and for me, numbers play a huge part in that. So, you know, where the 5 is the disruption, and the 6 is moving away to a safe distance, the 7 is the amalgamation or the integration of what you have learned from this preceding experience. The 8 is when things start to bear fruit, I think, right? And for you, some of the fruit that is being born is the ability to put down these troublesome emotions that have been difficult for you for a very long time, right? I've said this before with the Eight of Cups. There's a train of thought that says it's, you know, it's about moving away from situations that don't serve you anymore and all that kind of thing. And the corollary of that is the implication that you are physically leaving these things behind. You are leaving an abusive relationship. You are leaving, you know, a toxic work environment. You are turning your back on toxic members of your family, all that sort of thing. But I do feel like it moves beyond that. And I've said this before, you know, it is possible to remove yourself physically from all sorts of situations and then carry the emotions that you associate with them with you. So to that end, they've not really been left behind, right? And particularly when the emotions that you attach to these past situations start playing themselves out in front of you with the way that you deal with new incoming situations, it can twist your line, you know, it can send you off down a road that you never really intended to go down. What this says to me is that you are acknowledging that, you have been acknowledging that, and you've been looking at how far from the path that you feel you should have been on you have wandered, because all of the new experiences were tainted with your kind of with the difficult emotions of the old, yeah. And Taurus, you're just not about that life anymore. Like you're not. You've shown that over and over again this year, but it's starting to hit on a really fundamental level now, right? And nothing is off limits for investigation for you, not at all. You know, you want the truth of the matter everywhere, and it doesn't really matter what the cost is for you at this point. You know, there's that and that's incredible, because that means that you are achieving a level of I was going to say distraction, that's not at all. I meant detachment. Holy shit. A level of detachment from the old, right? Releasing it, letting it go, moving away from all the old situations, and, you know, just like putting your hood up and going, right, well, I'm going to go see what's new, what's in this city back here, right? We've got the moon in the background. The moon indicates for me, you know, they're hidden places, and you're headed off in that direction. You don't want anything to be hidden from you anymore. Now we've got this 8 of Wands here, and that can sometimes talk about communication, although I always find that slightly problematic, because I don't feel like the Wands suit particularly is about communication. It's about living in the moment, you know. So I see it more as an increase in momentum in what it is that you're working on. I'm going to pull another card for that. Yeah. It's like the speed and the ease with which you can now move away from these old situations as they are coming up, right? As they are slowly coming to the surface in the stillness that you have managed to achieve. It's impressive. And not something that you thought you would have been able to do 6 months ago. But here you are. Maybe that's the 8 of Wands. 4 of Cups. Oh shit. That's gone under the table. Let's have a look. 2 of Wands. Yeah. So we've got the 10 of Wands at the bottom of the deck here. Burden. Right? But interestingly, in this particular depiction, and I love this depiction for that, the burden's being put down. Right? Usually what we see is somebody really struggling under the weight of everything, under the weight of responsibility, something that you take very seriously and have taken on far too much of over your life, right? Putting that burden down and going, right, do you know what? That actually isn't my problem at all, and I don't really understand why I made it my problem at some point, but no, it's going, it's gone. The cards that have come up underneath the 8 of Wands are the 4 of Cups here, the 7 of Pentacles, and the 2 of Wands. And this is frankly delicious. I love it. Because it says to me that the fear of rejection, which is something that has really plagued you so hard for such a large proportion of your life, matters less to you now. It's like the acceptance of everyone isn't important to you. You're starting to stand on your own 2 feet. Right? You're putting your energy into you, which is where it should be, absolutely. And you understand that it's not actually a reflection on you if everybody doesn't like you, right? You don't need everybody to like you. You don't need everybody to approve, more specifically, of what it is that you are doing, because you've spent a lot of your life looking out of the window, kind of wishing that you could just find life as easy as other people do. And I don't mean, you know, like just winning the lottery and stuff like that. I mean emotionally easier to navigate than you have. A lot of you have felt like there was something intrinsically wrong with you, like there was just something programmed incorrectly into you, or that there was something wrong with other people. Like, why couldn't they see how important things are? The relationships, you know, the work, the whatever. Why couldn't they see that? Why didn't they appreciate that? And why was it then left to you to pick it all up? And actually, I think some of you don't even don't even question the fact that you needed to pick things up. You just did it. Like, it was just like an autopilot thing. You just picked it up and go, oh, okay, well, you're not doing this, I should do this because I can, because I'm a bull and I'm strong and all this sort of thing. Right? The extent to which your energy has been scattered and taken advantage of and abused for such a long time, in lots and lots of ways, by lots and lots of different faces, but ultimately the same theme, the same pattern running through it time and time again, is something now that actually almost baffles you, but I feel you taking responsibility for it. In the right way. You've never had trouble taking responsibility for anything before in your life, and you're certainly not going to start now. But you see how it is that you have put yourself in this position, and therefore you have the power to take yourself out of that position. And what's happening is liberation for you. Right? I've said the Seven of Pentacles for me talks about being dissatisfied with things in your status quo, you know, right? But what I really love about the Seven of Pentacles, and I don't hear this very often from anybody else, is that I feel you need to be very, very present to be able to make that kind of objective assessment about yourself, right? Now, the thing with Taurus is you've been kind of flipping between living in the past and projecting catastrophe onto the future, or, you know, hugely over-investing in the future because you've been desperate, right, to fill the void that has existed within you at points. Now, that void can't be filled with anybody else, and you know that. It can only be filled by you. And there you are, right? And you hit a crossroads a little while ago where you saw that if you did not shift the way that you did things, the way that you saw things, that happiness that you were after, that contentment, that peace will never come. And you've made changes accordingly, right? So now we move on to your present energy, and I just can't tell you how much I love this. Well, I can, like, I've got goosebumps, that's how much I love it, right? So what we've got is the Lovers here. Now, there are a number of different ways of interpreting this card. I'm gonna bash through them. For some of you, and this is by no means all, I think it is really just some, it is possible that you have met someone, right? You have met someone who is actually kind of, see, I was going to say set your soul alight, but that's entirely opposite to the feeling that I get of this. This is something far more tranquil. Fuck, did something like this not come up in your previous reading as well? I've got a vague memory somewhere in my head that for some of you, you had met someone who was not sparky and exciting in the ways that the last couple of relationships that you've gone after in a really strong way had been, right? There was a drama and an excitement associated with it, and in some ways that kind of, you basked in the reflective glory of that, you know, excitement, before realizing that actually it was really quite fragile and brittle, right? Because once you got beyond that, there wasn't really anything else there, and that comfort and that companionship and that intimacy that you craved just was not available to you from this person, right? So some of you have met a new person who is not, like I said, dramatic and flary and exciting, but ultimately brittle. There's something much more peaceful. There's something much more balanced and aligned with this relationship now, you know, and it feels like equality because you haven't put them up on a pedestal the way that you would have done before. You've allowed them to stay on the ground and you've seen them for who they are rather than who you have, you know, decided in your head that they would be. And this is interesting. This is a shadow thing as well, right? The notion of there being, how was it, Robert Johnson, I think, I can't remember. We projecting all of our good bits onto somebody else. Like we can't own them for ourselves because we don't deserve them, all that sort of thing. But we meet somebody who is exciting and all that kind of thing, and we go, oh wow, they are this, that, and the other. And what we're actually doing is we're projecting the gold, all the good bits of us, onto somebody else and making them carry that, right? Putting them on a pedestal when actually they don't deserve to be there, and it's wrong to put them there. It puts an awful lot of pressure on that person as well, right? You're not doing that now. This person is standing in front of you, eye to eye, and it's all good, right? It could well be that it's another Sagittarius, interestingly enough, because we've got the Temperance card here, and we've got Taurus, we've got you here, but what we've got is you as the Empress, which, like, I've got to say, Taurus, I prefer you in this guise than I do in the Hierophant, right? The Hierophant it's creaky, it's old, it's stiff energy, right? Everything's got to be done by the rules, and there's this strict hierarchy and all this kind of thing, right? Kind of reject that as Taurian. I think that the higher expression of your energy is, for me, the Empress, right? Fertility, abundance, creativity, you know, yeah, there's something so incredibly vibrant about Empress energy, right? It's lush and fertile, and things can grow, things can be nurtured, and you can nurture in a safe way this here, this energy, which is Sagittarius. Now, if you have not met somebody else, and for probably at least half of you, I feel like that's the case. This fucking totally did come up in your last reading. I don't think that you're bothered. And this is important because you are concentrating on yourself at the moment. Now, the other interpretation, I mean, it could actually also be a Gemini. I'm going to throw that in there before I move on, right? The other interpretation that is possible here, right, is a choice, right? This is a big, big fucking life choice because this is a card of manifestation to me, right? And it's not about picking one job over another. It's not about deciding you're going to live here or you're going to live over there, or am I going to move or am I going to stay where I am? Like, it's not that kind of decision. It's about standing up and taking responsibility for the fact that actually you can bring into your life anything that you want. So it's not about the decision itself, it's about the act of standing up and making the decision. And I see here with this in your current energy that it's highly likely that you are starting to do that for yourself. Right? I said some of you would be quite happy single, and I stand by that because you're getting to know yourself, and actually it's quite enjoyable, you know, just as you have, you know, for the ones of you that have met people, no longer putting them on a pedestal, you're eye to eye, and everything is reciprocated and it's balanced, and it's a meeting of minds and a meeting of hearts and all that kind of thing, right? On an even playing field. So the others of you who have not met somebody else are actually engaging with yourself on this level now, right? So rather than you kind of walking around with this horrible voice that's just in your head all the time, you know, not being able to trust whether it's intuition or something else, but knowing that ultimately the way that you would throw yourself into things balls deep and leave nothing for yourself, right, would end up at some point potentially sabotaging that very thing that you desperately craved so much, right? I feel like that desperate layer has gone, and it's because you are now looking at yourself like this, right? You're being all like, yeah, I've got flaws. So is everybody else, you know? I've actually got a load of really good things about myself that I never really noticed before, but I'm getting to know them, and actually this is really cool. Like, I am becoming the sort of person that I would like to be friends with if I met me, yeah? And ultimately, that's what you want. You need to be your own best friend in all things, okay? So I read this thing once. It was my ex-husband actually sent it to me years ago. And it was a post on Reddit. I forget which subboard it was in, but it was talking about there being 3 versions of you, right? There's past you, there's present you, and there's future you. And you need to try and be best friends with all of these versions of you, right? So past you did something that has made, you know, your current existence easier, right? Maybe you, in fact, we'll use some examples here. I'll find something. You know, maybe something along the lines of a stitch in time saves 9 kind of mentality, right? So there's something that you did back there that it's made it easier for you to deal with here, and you're like, thank you, past me, high five, that's awesome, you've made my life a little bit easier here, right? Then turning to look at future you, like, what can you do to make things for future you easier? What is it that you would do there, you know? So maybe it's something as daft as, you know, making sure you get that last little thing done so that it's not hanging over to tomorrow, and that future you doesn't get stressed out because you didn't do it today. You know, little things like this. Seeing yourself as different versions of you, right? Remembering to be grateful for the good things that past you managed to do for you, but also forgiving the things that past you did that kind of cocked things up a little bit for you in your current iteration. And then in your current iteration going, well, what can I do to sort this out here to make it easier for future me, right? Now, I really like this, and it feels like this is the energy that you're kind of sliding into here now, right? It's quite reflective, and it's observant, and it's thoughtful to yourself in a way that you are, you know, incredibly accustomed to doing for other people, right? You are known, you are renowned for being a thoughtful sign. Too thoughtful sometimes, right? Now you're taking that energy and you are applying it to yourself, in all senses of the matter. And it achieves balance, right? There's a peacock feathers all the way around the back of here, right? And peacocks are associated with wisdom in ancient cultures, right? And particularly in ancient Eastern culture, because that's where peacocks come from. It's like India and stuff like that, right? Learning to fill your own cup first, that being super important, right? And then whatever's left, you can give to somebody else. But now you've got 2 best friends to be thinking about, right? This one here may need praise, also may need a bit of forgiveness and compassion. That's fine, right? Then you've got future you, your other best friend. You're like, what can I do to help future me along a little bit, right? It's all coming together to make something really rather beautiful. And I genuinely feel like a lot of you are really starting to enjoy being you now, starting to enjoy being in your own skin. This is a novel fucking situation for you. You don't recall a point even from childhood where it was okay to just be you, and to just be, right? And that's true for a lot of people. It's true for an awful lot of signs, right? But for you specifically, this period of time right now, it's feeling kind of magical as things stand, you know? It's like doors are opening for you, not because somebody else is opening them for you, but because you intend for them to open, right? You're thinking about your future, you're thinking about your past, but you're doing it from this point here. You are living here now, rather than there, right? Extending the thought out either way, extending the forgiveness, extending the compassion, extending the praise where it's due. But ultimately, you are the one who is now creating your own reality, right? And there's fertility and abundance in there, right? The creation of new things. What is new here is you, Taurus. And the way that you can now affect the world around you positively with the work that you have done within you know. It's like you've always tried so very hard to bring value to people's lives, but like the bull in the china shop thing, you did kind of causing chaos around you because it was a reflection of the chaos within. That is going away now. So now you can be still, and now you can be, you know, pregnant with possibilities. Like, what is it that you want to bring in? For some of you, I have to say that your approach to, your understanding of, and your enjoyment of sex has also gone through a bit of a metamorphosis. I don't know where that came from. I just heard that. Like, there's something much healthier about your sexual expression than there has been before too. That's awesome. That's absolutely wicked. I love it. So we have the Hermit here, right? And this is what's coming towards you for November. And I actually really like this because I just fucking love this depiction of it. For a start, look at that, right? So I love the fact that we're getting away from the old beardy man with the lantern, you know, going off searching in dark caves and so. We've got a woman here who is sitting very deliberately in the cave, right? And there's something of the wisdom of the ancients being revealed to her here, right? Now, Taurus, you're a spiritual lot, all of you, actually. And it's interesting because for the most part, the people that tend to watch my videos seem to be the ones who are more spiritually inclined. I'm a fucking tarot reader, right? But they're the ones that are a little less concerned with whether they're going to get their new job, like, does this person still love me, all that kind of thing, right? You're all kind of a bit more, I want to say enlightened, because I feel like that kind of does down the people that are not. But you say, in the process of removing themselves from a 3D reality and thinking that that's all that there is, right? There's something shifted in you. There's an ascension that's gone on with you, right? With your particular, with all the particular collectives that I read for at the moment, right? But Taurus specifically seem to be really quite spiritual. And as earth signs, fixed earth signs, who are supposed to be completely, you know, submersed in the 3D, you know, if it's not in front of me, I don't care. It's such a reaching out, and I think this has been really important, and why I've said it, it feels like it's kind of rippled out to all the other signs, right? There is a wisdom in you, though, that perhaps comes through the earth, right? Got all those cave paintings on the back, right? The bird on her head there, it's like, you know that your brain is a 3D processing machine, because that's what it is. It's a bioelectrical machine, right? It just runs all the thing. It's actually, I just noticed the bird thing here. But because you know that that's what it is, and that is all that it is, it's like you've developed the ability to be able to push this to one side a little bit. And don't underestimate the work that you have done this year to make that happen, because that's a huge thing. It's like you understand that there's a wisdom that flows through you that comes, it has its seat somewhere other than here, right? It's because this just processes 3D information, nothing else, right? The mind, where is the mind contained, right? Scientists don't fucking know. They don't know what the seat of consciousness is. Not even sure that it's in the brain. I heard someone say the other day, actually it was in a class that I was doing for chaos magic, that the mind is actually contained within the entire body, and that's possibly true. But who's to say that it's in the body at all? Who's to say that it's not, you know, it's not somewhere outside of the body, right? Whatever it is, there are things coming through you now, right? You just sort of know things. You just sort of feel things, right? There's information coming in. And you're so much more comfortable with it than you were before. Now this is important because this hasn't happened by accident, right? What's happened is you've managed to step down the constant screaming of the 3D brain here that's been going on for you for forever, right? And you've started listening to something else, right? These two cards together speak of a shift, of a change of input, right? It's less about the 3D sensory and it's more about something else. As you have quieted down your brain, so other things are coming to you now, and you understand things in a way that you didn't before. Like, I do feel like there's a bit of a detachment from those old experiences, those old emotions, right? All like 3D stuff. There's much more coming in, right? And for a lot of you, it feels like there's an understanding of collective heartbreak, right? Collective wounding. It isn't just about, you know, whether somebody dumped you or whether somebody didn't, you know, respond to you in the loving way that you wanted to do, and it upset things, you know, losses and grief and all these kind of things, right? That's the individual expression that you have experienced. But collectively, it's something else, right? Now, it has to have its 3D expression for you to be able to experience it in this form. But now you have processed that, it feels like you're opening up to the notion of Taurian collective wounding. And I've said this before and I'll say it again, what you change in yourself, you change in the collective. So I've got thousands of Tauruses that I know for a fact are working on themselves really fucking hard, and they are shifting, right, the collective consciousness at ground level. You're like a fucking earthquake, Taurus, right? Because you are of the earth, you are fixed earth, right? And as fixed earth shifts, nothing that's on top of it can stay the same as it was before. You know, this is tectonic movement that we've got going on here, and I just, fuck it, I'm here for this. I am really here for this, Taurus. I can't tell you how proud I am of you, right? And then we've got the Queen of Swords. Now the Queen of Swords, she gets a reputation as being a bit of a hard bitch, right? And sometimes that's justified, but sometimes it's not, right? She is the one who is able to detach from a situation and kind of push all the emotional stuff to one side, the stuff that other people get bogged down in. And by other people, I mean fucking everybody, right? She can push that to one side and she looks at the facts of the matter. Now, for you, I think what is starting to become facts of the matter are not, this person left me. I invested too much in this thing, right? Yet they are true facts, absolutely. The facts that you're starting to understand are something far more meaningful, right? Like, I don't know, right? Gandalf here, he's made of atoms, right? We know that, science tells us that. But actually, an atom is mostly empty space. I am mostly empty space. I should be able to just put myself in here, right? Quantum physics tells us that that's true, but we can't. And we can't because our 3D operating system, our brain up here, our understanding of the world tells us that that's not possible, right? I'm sure somebody at some point is going to get, you know, evolved to the point where they can just mesh with shit. There's something so much bigger at play here, Taurus, and it feels like you are starting to understand universal truths. It feels like really high ascension. It's actually what it feels like, really high ascension. Because I really like this Queen of Swords. Yeah. I don't feel like she has the coldness or the bitterness or the resentment that sometimes is associated with the sword suit, right? It's about truth and it's about justice. She is the lower echo of the justice card, actually. actually. She understands the truth of wounding. She understands the truth of hurts. She understands the collective expression of these things. And she's working to fix them, right? I feel like your interest in the mundane, the things that last year would have really wound you up, it's just disappeared. It's just gone, right? Because you feel the collective around you now, right? The wisdom of the collective, the wisdom of the ancestors, the wisdom of everything is coming into you, and you're acting as a disruption, right? You've got that tectonic energy going on, you're shifting things around. And if the very earth rejects this as all there is, then everybody else above that will feel that energy and will respond accordingly. It's the sun. There's a liberation, there's a truth that you're feeling now, right? And it's very evolved, Taurus. It's very ascended. You know, whatever you are doing now, right? You need to continue on with that, right? Keep pushing down. If you just suddenly discovered, you know, spiritual modalities, keep working with those. Maybe you're reading tarot, maybe you're using pendulums, you know, maybe you're going down the Reiki route, something like that, right? They're all different expressions of the same thing, right? It's accessing the energy around you and lifting it. And you are fucking lifting it, right? The shadow card at the bottom of the deck is death. Do not underestimate what you are doing right now, because every small thing that you do is becoming magnified, like throwing a stone into a river, right? It starts off with tiny little very distinct ripples, and as it gets out it gets bigger and kind of indistinct, right? Because it's feeding out into the collective. And what you're doing at the moment with every little bit of work that you do on yourself, with every new revelation that you have, with every bit of forgiveness and compassion that you offer to yourself, you're throwing a fucking house brick into the water, Taurus, right? You're shifting it for everyone. You're changing it for everyone. I cannot begin to tell you how fucking deep this is. It feels immense, like utterly immense, and I'm so proud that this is what you're doing, you know. Let's come back to these two aces at the bottom, right? These shadow cards here. The truth, right? The actual truth, the higher truth, the truth about reality, the truth about the way that you want to live your life, the way that you can affect everything that's going on. You know, you're planting a seed, something new, and it's going to ripple out to everyone, right? Oh my God, I love it so much. I'm so proud of you. I can't tell you. I do keep telling you how proud of you I am, but right, genuinely. Holy shit, I've been waffling for 42 minutes. Right, I'm going to go. If this has resonated with you at all, there is an extended, believe it or not, link down there in the description box. And my extendeds, they're anywhere from about 40 minutes to an hour, right? I just give you more stuff. So feel free to come and join me over there if you want to do that. If not, no shade. Know that I love you so very much and I am so proud of you. And I'll catch up with you soon. Take care.